About Hazrat Jesus, the Holy Quran speaks of Hazrat Maryam having gone into an area where she could spend privately the difficult period of her pregnancy, away from the eyes of the people who would censure her and always constantly create suffering for her. So under Allah's instructions, she went to a hilly area where there was some peace, and there she ultimately delivered her baby, Hazrat Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. Then under divine instructions she returned. After the baby had grown to an age where he could also talk. You know, a baby in the cradle does not only mean a baby who is an infant. A baby in the cradle or in pen can start talking, some very fluently, even at the age of 1. So who talks, who plays with things. So that is the age of Mahd. Now why did Allah mention specially about his being able to speak in Mahd? Was not that other children could not and he did. Allah mentioned it for a special purpose to which I'll come later. And Kahal is, according to Arabic lexicon, Kahal is the age when the youth just begins to decline, after 40 till 55, 60 or thereabout. So he did it both in childhood and when he had advanced in age to a degree where he could be called a man of Kahal. These are the words of the Holy Quran. Now the question is, why these two occasions are picked out? That means Allah is not speaking of ordinary talk which the child would continue to do. He must have spoken on certain important things. So first as a child, then when he was made a prophet. So it was Kahal when he was made a prophet. Now when we read about his early talk as a child, there we find a strange reference to his being a prophet who was given a kitab. You see? Now the ulama take it too literally, and they believe that at early age of childhood God had made him a prophet as an infant baby, and he had also given him kitab. While if it had happened at that time, then he should have been crucified as a child. You see? And why did he stop talking about it? Where did the kitab go? The reference to Injil which we have is entirely confined to the area of Kahal, not before that. So what happened? I am going to tell you that, and then you will understand what the Holy Quran means. Sometimes children are shown dreams which come true, dreams about their future, and innocently what they see they tell, and people believe the children more than the adults because they can't concoct things, they can't act. They're so honest and simple and truthful that their style of saying things, is so evident that except for a crooked mind, everybody begins to believe. So if Mary had come and started defending herself, this would not work with the people. Every woman who is indulgent, nobody listens to her stories, particularly if the stories are so fabulous that no man has touched me and yet I have given birth to a child. So this was the device from Allah. Allah told her to keep quiet. Allah showed dreams to this boy, and he gave her the instruction that when anybody inquires about you, who he is and this and that, let her speak to them as a small baby sitting in a cradle. And you know what he said? He said, God has made me a prophet. God has given me a book. While there was no book with him, and he was not a prophet at that time, but the pious talk and the pious dreams, they must have influenced the people who came to inquire. How could he be an illegitimate child when God is showing him such visions, or even some sort of way, maybe we don't know. But that is the experience of the childhood, which they did not take seriously as a genuine claim to prophethood. They could not take seriously as a boy having brought a book, otherwise they would have searched for the book, asked him to produce the book, where the book is. Nobody did that. But the purpose was served. Allah made them believe that leave this mother and child alone. This is a very special child. Right from the childhood, God is showing him the signs of his nearness, and he's talking such pious things. So that is what brought the noise down ultimately, killed the noise. And from then on they began to live in peace. That is fil Mahd. But when he reached the Kahal, then that age proved that this child, whatever he was telling, was not making it up for himself. This was a prophecy which came to be fulfilled. And he said the same things, this time with a book. This time with a real claim to prophethood. And the moment he did, you know what happened to him? So these are the two phases of the Kallum which acquired some significance and importance, and that is why these two different ages are mentioned, and in between no claim is mentioned at all. Otherwise, once he had been made a prophet, he should have continued, he should have delivered the message right and left. Why did he go quiet? Obviously my interpretation is correct. This is the only interpretation which is valid.
Yes, Hudur, but there is just one point.
Yes, please.
They say, or we understand, that he talked to the people when his mother came back carrying him.
That's right.
No. This is very young.
We can carry a boy of 4 or 5 even.
Yes, that means they
but
started.
She was carrying him on a donkey.
That's right. That means he was 2, 3, 4 years.
That's right, exactly.
Yes, not a baby.
But Phil, what I was trying to say was that Phil Mahd is an expression which can be used for children who sometimes spend a time in they call in English pen.
Yes, a special
place where they sit and play.
Yes.
So even if he is 3 or 2.5 years, let's say, I don't insist that he must be more than that.
Yes.
Because a baby is carried up to the age of 3 or 4 as well. So let's say 2.5 or 3 years.
Yes.
Still the baby can see dreams and visions and begins to tell, and the younger he is, more trustworthy he is. So we shouldn't insist on a bigger age. Because at 4 o'clock that baby may have been taught somehow.
Yes,
at the age of 4, not 4 o'clock, at the age of 4, he must have been taught, could have been taught.
Yes.
But a young baby of 2.5 years simply cannot say these things from himself, or he simply cannot act. He looks far more natural. So if it happened at a young age, I am not at all surprised, because as I am telling you, it was a vision or a dream which was simply quoting without making a genuine claim to prophethood. Right? Now the child says other things as well, which are positive proofs that it is not a child really making a claim that I have been ordered to do it now, from now on. But the claim is indicative of a vision or a dream, otherwise it cannot be explained at all. You know what he says after this being Nabiya and Kitab, having Kitab? وَجَعَلَنِي مُبَارَكًا أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُ وَأَوْصَانِي بِالصَّلَاةِ وَالزَّكَاةِ مَا دُمْتُ حَيًّا. When the order was given, then he should have started Salat and Zakat. Can you imagine a child who is fil Mahd starting saying as-salat, and then paying Zakat? Anybody who hasn't any earning at all whatsoever, how can he give Zakat, and how can imagine a child having done it? And there is no historical evidence whatsoever that Jesus ever said Salat before the time of the prophethood, or started paying Zakat. He was an unknown entity. So how could he stop doing it if he had started it? But then, more than that, وَبَرًّا بِوَالِدَتِي. How could the child be barram for walida? The walida who was carrying her. So all this indicates that it's a prophecy of what Allah would tell him later on. So it is his potential. Actual Jesus was yet to be born, the prophet, as prophet of Allah. So whatever he was told later on at a ripe age, it was told him as a prophecy through dreams or whatever vision you call it, that this is what you will ultimately be. So many a child see in early dreams these things which are to happen in future to them, and gradually later on they understand the significance much later. And for children to dream such pious dreams is common. You don't have to be a special child anyway. Sometimes children born to pious parents are also shown these small visions as a taste of Allah's nearness. And we have found in our family many an incident where a small child sees a dream which that child cannot make up. My daughter Tuba, youngest daughter, she once surprised us by telling us a dream in which she had seen heavenly lights and things, and the scenario she built and in the dream was so strange and unbelievable that a child could see things of the other world and of the Allah's manifestations, that everybody doubted her except me. My elder daughters, they laughed themselves out. They said, look here, Rata, she says she has dreamed this. It's impossible, she must have made it up. So I said, no, such a child as she was cannot make up these things. It's impossible. So they insisted, no, how could she see such a wonderful dream? I said, all right, let's try. You take her to another room and tell her to make a story for you, and then see whether it is the same mind which has made this story as made this dream. You will see such a difference. You know the story she made? This was such a logical dream, such a wonderful thing. The story was that, there was, after, concentrating, she said there was a small rat and there was a big lion. So the rat said to the lion, I'm going to eat you up. And the lion was so scared. He ran for his life. And the rat said, oh, I'm coming after you. I'm going to eat you up. They came back and said, Abba, father, you were right and we were wrong. This girl cannot see that dream, cannot make up this dream. So these things, that is why I said God showed it to him for the people to judge for themselves. It is impossible for a child of that age to make such things, make up such things. In dreams, you concoct such things. Now, incidentally, I tell you a small experience of my own, at which my father used to laugh so much whenever he mentioned it. Quite early in my age, when I was about 4 or 5, I don't know exactly, but it was quite early as a child. As a grown-up boy running about, not that fil Mahd at all. At that time, somebody from England came to give a display of an aeroplane. And aeroplane was, was a fantastic thing in those days. For that to come to Qadian and give us rides. So Hazrat Muslim took his family and he took my mother as well and said, let's have a ride one after the other. So when it was my turn, I sat with my mother. And we both took a ride and then the plane came back. And when we landed, Hazrat Muslim asked me, what did you see there when you went up? I said, I'm surprised what happened. I must have dozed off. I said, when I went up in the plane, many angels came and told me to lead them in prayer. So I led them in prayer and they all said their prayer behind me and then we returned. So Al-Muslim used to laugh so much. He said, look at him. He saw angels praying behind him. So I'm telling you, from my personal experience, I didn't concoct anything. That is what I saw and what I told, and they believed me. He said he didn't make up this story, but he laughed at it at the same time. He looked at his imagination, it ran amok, and in his sleep, suddenly he must have dozed off. He saw this strange thing. So I have given you the example of small children. Chuba was much younger when she saw this. She was about 3 years old. And I was about between 4 to 5 years, a grown-up lad. But still I know it was not a made-up thing at all. And how could I tell my father, at that age? So these are daily experiences of people, of children. They happen, these things. But for Jesus, it was a very specific thing to serve a specific purpose. All the words which are used in the childhood have exactly come to pass in the older age. And it was then at the older age, fil Kahal, when they were implemented, not before. That also proves that he did not die upon cross at the age of 30 or 33. The calculation must have been wrong, because the age of 30 is not that of Kahal. So if he spoke in Kahal, then according to the ulama, he must have spoken in the other world, in the heaven somewhere in space. Because they believe he was lifted at age of 33 to the skies, and somewhere in the fourth heaven he was deposited by Allah on a solitary star. And how could it happen that Allah says he spoke in Kahal, and by the age of 30 is not Kahal? It has to be later, when the Javani, as we call it, the youth begins to decline, like the sun begins to set. That is the age of Kahal. So that also proves Ahmadiya viewpoint, that number one, he must have received prophethood not at the age of 30, but later. This can be resolved to a degree by the fact that the age calculation according to Christian calendar is wrong, and they admit, all the scholars admit. Because some scholars insist that the year of his birth was 8 years before what is known. You know that, you have gone through that research. So add 8 to 32 or 33 and it's 40, 41.
Yes.
That is exactly the age when the prophets are made, and that is also the age when in the beginning, first part of Kahal begins. So this is my answer to this.
Yes, Father.
If you understand in this
totality. Inshallah, it's say everywhere. But I want to point one thing for Hadur. This happened also with Hadrat Yusuf, when he was young and taken by his brothers.
Oh, yes, of course.
And throw them.
Oh, yes, yes.
And he said
he saw the dream
that
which was to be fulfilled later on.
Yes.
And he will tell that. That's right. Yes. My daughter. There's no. I'm not talking of my grandchild.
Yes.
I'm talking of my youngest daughter.
Yes.
It happened quite long ago in Rabwa.
Which one, Hudur?
Tuba is the youngest.
Okay. Then kuhula does not mean very old age.
No. It could mean only, starting from this, I have investigated it. I have read Imam Razi and other authorities. The sum total of their finding is that the first kinara, first beginning or the limit of Kahal is just at the time when the ripe youth turns the corner and begins to enter the period from which, he would never return to the same age again. There are two parts in the two phases in one's life. One when grows on and gathers strength and reaches balugha of intelligence and everything. That is about 40 years, when prophets are generally appointed by Allah. Then the gradual decline begins. So they say this is the first limit of Kahal. Then it reaches up to, according to some, up to 50, 55, some say up to 70, but not very old age. Kahul, I don't know, the Quran uses the word Kahal, but Kahul is also a version of the same. So reading about Kahal, I have found this, that it is about 70 or thereabout. Not very old. Could you? Check it up again. I'll check it up and let you know. But when I investigated, I remember it didn't speak of very old age, but spoke of old age enough, much beyond the time of crucifixion. So when he started saying, the first limit was around 40 and thereabout. And then he kept on talking for a while of the same things until he reached the old ripe age. That is all the Holy Quran claims, right?
Yeah.
He delivered the message in the second part, still he was in the age of Kahul.
That means Kahul from 40
onwards to up to 70 or thereabouts. So he must have reached Kashmir within this period and must have delivered this message there within the period of Kahul. Yes. And again, let me remind you that you said the scholars say it was the mistake was by error in his birth, year of birth, is of 8 years. But what I said was, they offer different views. 8 year is the maximum to which they take it back. But most scholars begin with 4, from 4 to 8.
Exactly.
And some even say less, but they are in a small minority.
Yes.
Mostly it is between 4 and 8. So I believe personally it must be closer to 8 because of the word Kahal used for him by the Holy Quran. Yes.